Quick little lesson on the Rotary tool. So to get the Rotary tool, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the menu. We're going to drop the bed down so it can fit in here. And I did that by going into the focus menu and dropping the bed way down. After doing so, and this is the most important part obviously, you want to make sure that it's low enough that it can fit in the bed. And you want to make sure the laser is off. And after which you're just going to take this connector and plug it in right over here. Now, it is important that when you do so, that when you position this guy in here, you want the mechanism to sit all the way to the left and all the way to the back against that ruler. And when it's sitting to the left and in the back, it is in the right place. So now that we're connected and it's positioned properly and the bed is dropped sufficiently, we can power the machine on.
So now it's going to go through its normal startup procedure, but when it does, you're going to notice it's going to drop the table down and it's going to kind of get it into what it wants as a default downward position. And it's going to do its normal XY homing calibration. But when it does, rather than come back to the standard parking position, it's going to move out right above where that little clip is and that notches if you have the rotary tool in place properly. Now, if I turn on the red dot right now, I can see that the red dot's going to hit the center of the clip, which means everything is in the proper position aligned for it. So this clip pops out and up and down like that, so I can take a piece like a glass and I can use that clip to hold the piece inside the rim right in place. And just like the other rotary tool, we have a little adjustment knob that we can drop it. We can put a level in and use that knob to make sure that the top surface that we're engraving is totally nice and level on that bubble. Now, if I go into the jog menu and I move the joystick around, you're going to notice since the y-axis is already in that correct position, moving the joystick around, sort of like the rabbit, I can move the X position and that'll make the head go back and forth. But when I move the Y up and down, the gantry is not going to move, but instead you can't really see it too well in the video, but it's going to rotate the piece on the rotary tool. You can see it rotating a little bit. So that means the rotary tool's positioned okay. So now if I go into the focus menu, we cannot use autofocus with rotary. So I'm going to bring the manual focus head down, and in the jog tool, I can use the button to raise or lower the table right to the point where that manual focus just begins to engage with the surface. And if so, that's the proper Z focus position. So now I have this little wonderful piece of artwork that we're going to engrave into it. So I take this, standard control P, send it to the Epilog engraver, and my door's open right now, so it's looking wacky, but that's okay because when we do rotary, we always want to use the center point method. So centering point, I'm going to set to center right now. Getting that centering point set, be sure over here on the right side to set this rotary to the on position. Afterwards, you'll see a type, and just make sure type is set to rim style. So now I can see there's a centering point on that artwork, and centering point mode shuts the camera off. I'm going to pick a material setting. This is a glass engrave, so we'll pull that right out of the library. And when I double check and send this over, remember again, this is a center point job, which we discussed more in the same video. But what this means is when we go into jog mode here, and then we can kind of pick the center point on the workpiece where we want to engrave it. So that looks, a pretty decent position. We can hit the centering point button, which is going to define the center of where we want that thing to engrave. So now if we go back in and we select that job in the hamburger menu and hit that test button, it'll draw the bounding box on the piece where it's going to engrave it. And at that point, if that looks like it's the proper position, then we're okay to engrave. The job is selected. We hit start and we're off and running. So it didn't come out too bad, as you can see. Only thing left now is the shutdown and put away procedure, which again is the laser must be off before disconnecting it. When it is off, you can pull the plug out. There's a little thumb latch you can hit. And when you do, the connector pulls straight out and just put the rotary tool back where it came from.